Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, with co-host and bestie and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Welcome, everybody. Kaustubha, how are you today?
Doing good.
Good. I heard you have some very interesting information just come in on... We're trying to get to the bottom of our invocation for years now.
Okay.
Every invocation we're asking, who is Nara-narayana Rishi? Who is Nara-narayana Rishi? Because we have this prayer, Narayanam Namaskritya, which we will chant very soon. And it always says, Nara-narayana Rishi, the supermost human being.
And then there's always this, it's kind of confusing. Like sometimes it speaks of Nara-narayana Rishi as if he's one person. Sometimes it speaks as if it's two people.
Right. Because, the invocation itself, he is the supermost human being. It doesn't say the supermost human beings.
Yeah, but you hear it both ways, right?
Yeah. So it's confusing. So what is the definitive answer on this?
And then, when we had Raghunath Swami on, he told us a little bit about, but then like the real question, I said, like, is it one person or is it two person? You're two people. And he said, it's both, and I was like, okay, but it's like, well, what does that mean? So
we're always running against like the boundaries of our human intelligence. Our human intelligence is it's like the moth analogy I used the other day. We're just like moths. Did you hear that analogy?
Moths. Yeah, I remember you talking about that moth. And you brought up a question, and I put it in the chat board, but I don't think you ever saw it there. But you questioned whether moths are blind, if they can see or not.
Right.
And I quickly Googled it, and I shared some impressive scientific biological term, which I've since immediately forgot. But it meant that they can see like light, but they can't see figures.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to reiterate this point because it has everything in the world to do with Bhakti-yoga.
All right, let's hear it.
Because to really understand the Vedas, we have to understand our senses are limited. And there's this whole idea like, don't worry, we'll know this. If we don't know it now, we'll figure it out. And when you approach the Vedic paradigm, we start to understand, there's a lot of things you can't figure out. You will never know. And I was saying that I have a moth issue in my pantry. Pantry is like a room. And there's moths, and I can't get rid of these moths, and they keep laying eggs. And it's driving me insane. And so, for a week, I was just like swatting them around. Now, these moths aren't thinking like, let's invade Raghu's pantry and eat his food and lay our babies. They're not thinking like that. The moths are just thinking, let's just do our thing. They're not thinking like, Raghu's, got the show. He's a yoga teacher. This will drive him crazy. The moth isn't thinking like that. The moth is just like living their life. Even if I was to say, listen, you moths, I'm a yoga teacher. There is no reason you should be in my pantry. The moth doesn't care. He can't understand. He can't understand my words. He can't understand my form even. He can't understand that I have children. He can't understand he can't even understand there's an outside world outside of my house. That's what a moth thinks like. The problem is we're moths. We're moths.
There's a tattoo for you, right?
There's a tattoo. You're looking for a new tattoo, people? We're moths. I'm looking at Bir Ashrani right now. He's like, yeah, I'll get a tattoo. Hey, Mom, just got back.
What is
studying the Bhagavatam. I got a Krishna conscious tattoo on my forehead. We're moths.
If you would have said Krishna or something, maybe. But we're moths.
Hashtag we're all moths. So let's understand, like we may not be able to understand Nara-narayana Rishi with our moth-like intelligence. We are moths.
And Rukmini, when she was on Sunday, she mentioned that the bhakti path is not ascending, but it's descending.
Sure. It's a great way to understand, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not about You know, there's certain things, our senses, we will not be able to understand through our senses or even through our speculation or, you know, our mental prowess, not through the prowess of our senses, nor through the prowess of our mind will it be enough to understand these truths. They actually descend. They have to be handed down. You don't climb up to them. You have to prepare yourself to be receptive when they're handed down. And that comes through humility, and that comes, you know, that comes through one's character, and one, you know, and you combine that with one's sadhana, one's spiritual practice, and one can become receptive to this stuff as it's handed down. It's not exactly that you climb up to it. What to speak of the power of the senses, which are so limited.
Sure.
Okay.
It's like something like acupuncture, right? You got to hear that stuff. You're
Yeah.
never going to figure that out. You're never going to figure out
Poking
putting in a
around.
needle here. Yeah. How does that feel? Who came up with this stuff? This stuff is descending. It's not ascending. You're not going to figure it out. There is ascending ways to get knowledge, but this Vedic revelation,
there's a limit to it.
Ascending. There's a limit.
Yeah.
There's a limit to it.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things we can't figure out, even if we could figure it out.
And so there's a limit to our ability to climb up and understand Nara-narayana Rishi. Okay.
Are you just saying we're not going to be able to understand him?
In the end, that's where I'm getting, because I'm not saying that Krishna's saying. You ready? Because after that
explain.
show, I think it was after the show with Radha Swami, we got a message from Yelena. Her name on Instagram, she goes as Yelena Wolves. And so this is what she wrote. You ready?
Yes.
She said, after I listened to yesterday's podcast where the question of Nara and Narayana came up, purely by coincidence, I happened to be in that exact part in my Mahabharata on tape.
There's no coincidence.
There's no coincidence. This was Nara-narayana Rishi speaking to you. It was descending to Yelena. So she said she was right at that part where Krishna says to Arjuna. So Krishna says this to Arjuna in the Mahabharata. He says, "You are mine, and I am yours." Right? Mahabharata is full of beautiful rasa, right? Krishna saying, imagine
Very
Krishna
sweet.
saying that to you. Krishna taking you by the hand, Raghunath, and saying, "Raghunath, you are mine, and I am yours." Right? So this is the relationship Krishna has with Arjuna. He says to Arjuna, "You are mine, and I am yours. All that is mine is yours. He who hates you also hates me." And we could imagine who that's referring to, Duryodhana and so on. So, and then he says, formerly, in the past, you were Nara and I was Narayana. Though as individuals.
So that means man and Vishnu.
Yeah. Formerly you were Nara and I was Narayana. Though as individuals we are as one, no one can understand our oneness and
No
difference.
one can understand it. See, there, Krishna said it himself.
That's what Maharaj said.
Krishna, let me try to understand this. No one can.
No one can. So we've been trying to understand.
I'm like flapping my moth-like wings. No, give me another chance. I think I got it this time.
We are moths. We will never understand.
Making a moth imitation noise.
Yeah. So he says, literally, no one can understand our oneness and difference. All right. We just got to give it.
I will say there is like a relief to know that you can't know everything. Do you ever go to the library when you're a kid? You're like, I want to read all these books. And then you're feeling like, and then there's this feeling like, I'm just not smart enough. And then you meet someone who's really smart and they're just like, that person knows everything. And you got to realize like there is a limit to even how much you can know. What a relief when you accept, you know what? I can only know what I can know.
Right.
There's a limit. And even in different people's ability to retain, just like you hold up that moth information and you're like, I can't remember it. I studied tons of like formulas and math and calculus. I can't remember any of it. A parallelogram, come on. Remember that is. I studied it. It's crammed. I shoved things in my brain. There's a limit to how much I can know anyway. How many languages can you know?
But what to speak of this stuff that's on this transcendental level?
Yeah.
How is
metaphysical things?
How is Krishna and Arjuna one and different? You don't understand. All right. So
anyway, that was good. Still no answer.
No, that
Mara,
is
how
the
many-
answer. That's the
Mara,
answer.
Mara, how many languages do you know?
Barely can speak English.
What did they do? What
What
Papa
is
Tony
that
spent? How much money on that private school for you?
You didn't learn French? Come on.
I mean, I used to be able to speak French in high school.
It's all gone. It's all gone. We have moth-like intelligence here on the show.
So thank you,
Ryan,
Elena.
let's dive right in here.
I just want to thank you, Elena.
Yeah, thank you for that great quote.
All right.
Let the transcendental coincidences happen again and again. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Nara-narayana Rishi, the supermost human beings, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Madatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Welcome to the show, everybody. We didn't really say anything, but if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, welcome to our show. And please, if you like what we're doing, give us a 5-star review. And if you'd like to join our little Zoom club, here it is. There's 122 people today. You got to email Mara at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com and then join that little party. All right, Kaustubha, you want to dive into this?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Bonandini's writing me right now on WhatsApp on my desktop, and I can't get rid of it because I need to keep my desktop open to look at your notes.
Okay.
Sorry
So
about those
where
beeps.
are we? We are in Canto 1 still.
Yeah.
Chapter 11 still. And text number
25?
26.
We
read
did 25
but
yesterday.
why don't we just have a little quick little review, just super quick little review, because we're getting near the end of this chapter of how Krishna enters Dwarka. And if you remember going back, we said that the previous chapter, we had the separation. You know, the people from Hastinapur were experiencing that separation from Krishna as he left there. And in this chapter, we're reading about the reunion, the union. And it's said that bhakti flows between the embankments of union and separation, right? That
Right.
There's this coming together and going apart and coming together and going apart, and how the spiritual emotions get churned in these circumstances. So this chapter has been about the union. Krishna returns to Dwarka, and it began with some verses that dealt with how he was received there by the people. And then there were some verses that described the city itself, how beautiful it was, how it was decorated, how all of that was a external manifestation of the inner consciousness of the residents of Vrindavan, who were all great lovers of Krishna. And then we were reading verses about how Krishna was reciprocating specifically with each individual. You know, with some he's showing respect to, with some he's showing friendship to, with some he's showing kind of kindness and mercy to, individually reciprocating with them all. And now we're reading verses that are describing Krishna's beauty, and what it was like to see him, you know, walk through that city of Dwarka. And so we'll continue with this.
I got to say, Kaustubha, you are an excellent recapper.
Well,
Matter of fact, if it was the olden days, they might call you Kaustubha the recapper.
I
You
was
know
just
how you
reading
get
it
those
from my
names
ear.
that are just, oh, that's where you got it from. Okay.
Yeah, I got it all. I stole it all from this lovely.
It was very good.
These are great books. The Bhagavad Subodhini. You know, these are the monks at the Govardhan Eco Village. They're just, you know, they're all like, while we're running around doing our stuff, right? At the Eco Village, you know, doing our class and stuff. They're all like reading Bhagavatam and studying it and producing these study guides and so on.
You're amazing.
So yeah, if anyone wants to get some great study guides, they're called Bhagavad Subodhini,
I don't
I'm
know
sure
if they're for sale, are they? I thought they were just for the.
No, they're for sale. You can get them all over the place, and I
Right.
imagine they could be ordered from India. Okay, so we're on text 26.
Yeah.
You want to read the verse?
Yeah. The Lord's chest is the abode of the goddess of fortune. His moonlight face is the drinking vessel for the eyes, which hanker after all that is beautiful. How poetic. His arms are the resting place for the administrative demigods. Don't get that. And his lotus feet are the refuge of pure devotees who never talk or sing of any other subject except his lordship. That was very beautiful. So let's just, the first one, the goddess of fortune's on his chest. Do you want to explain that srivatsan here?
Yeah, that's also, what do I understand about that?
What do we
I've heard it a million
understand?
times, yeah, but it said that on the there's two things on the Lord's chest that distinguish him.
Trivia to Mara, please.
Okay, Mara, do you know the two things that are on the Lord's? Now they're on the chest of Lord Krishna. They're also on the chest of Lord Vishnu. So like in the Vaikuntha planets, on the spiritual planets where Lord Vishnu resides, where like all the beings have these four-armed forms and they look a lot like Lord Vishnu. These two distinguishing whatever you want to call them, the things are there that distinguish Lord Vishnu from the other Vishnu-like forms.
No looking at the chat board. Just look straight in his eyes. Look straight in
right
his
here,
eyes. Do
Mira,
not
right
deviate.
Here, right here. See that? Okay.
I appreciate everyone giving me answers on the chat board. One is the golden hair that represents Lakshmi.
Okay, so that's the srivatsan. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, that's a confusing thing. There's a golden hair.
Okay, well, so we'll
that
get to
represents Lakshmi.
What's the second one?
Okay.
The Kaustubha gem.
There you go. Okay. Wow,
that's really good. I was going to say the footprint of a Brigu.
No. I mean, that's there too.
That's there too. The footprint of Brigu.
So this I think it's not one hair. I think it's like some very gentle swirl of hair on the Lord's chest.
A whirl.
Somehow it sounds a little weird because like when we have patchy hair, it's like disgusting. But when the Lord has like, this, it's like he's got some kind of very attractive, swirl of soft hair.
You can't make this up. It's actually all over the Vedic scriptures. The Lord has a whirl of hair on his chest that stands out. Like I have like a gray hair on my chest that's sort of like extra long. And you're like, oh. But on Lord Vishnu, he's got a golden one, and it's quite charming and beautiful on him.
And but it's somehow in that form, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, this feminine manifestation of, expansion of the Lord, Lakshmi, resides there as that in some way. So,
but how does she reside there, yet she's also by his side? That's my question. We're going to get to the bottom of this today. All these questions you've ever asked.
She can be in so many places.
Okay.
All right. So so this verse is describing the Lord's chest, his moon-like face, arms, and his feet.
The feet one is very beautiful.
Let's read a little bit from the commentary here. Would you like to read, or shall I?
You can read.
I'll start. There are different classes of human beings, all seeking different enjoyments from different objects. Okay.
That alone is a very powerful statement.
I know.
There's different classes of human beings, all desiring different enjoyments from different objects.
Okay.
Nice way to see the world.
There are persons who are seeking the favor of the goddess of fortune. All right. So Lakshmi she's the consort of Lord Vishnu. She's also called the goddess of fortune. Meaning that, if we're going to become fortunate, receive wealth or this or that, it's she's got some kind of she plays a role in whether that comes or not. So there are persons who are seeking after the favor of the goddess of fortune, and for them the Vedic literatures give information that the Lord is always served with reverence, with all reverence, by thousands and thousands of goddesses of fortune in the Chintamani Dham. Raghu, the verse.
Chintamani prakarasad masukalpa vriksha laksha vratesha surabir abhipaliyantam Laxmi sahasra satasam ramasevyamanam govindamadi purisham tamaham bachami. Lakshmi sahasra, right? Thousands of Lakshmis. Lakshmi sahasra. Lakshmi sahasra.
Satasam Ramasevyamanam.
Yeah, serving.
Yeah.
Seva sat.
So
I did good the first time. When I tried to go back and do the word for word, I flopped.
So this Raghu was chanting a prayer from Lord Brahma called the Brahma Samhita, where he's glorifying Krishna in the spiritual world, and he's describing that he's not served by just one goddess of fortune, but when Krishna's wandering Goloka, the highest point of the spiritual realm, he's served by thousands and thousands, unlimited thousands of goddesses of fortune, of beautiful goddesses. So here it says, so the Vedic literature gives, so in other words, what Prabhupada's kind of laying out here is like, someone may think, I want money, let me worship Lakshmi, right?
Right.
But if you connect yourself with Krishna, you're connecting with the person that's served by unlimited Lakshmis. Get out of your small little moth-like thinking, right?
Moth.
I want this, I want that.
Don't be such a
understand
moth.
who Krishna is. So he says he's served by thousands and thousands of goddesses in Chintamani Dham, the transcendental abode of the Lord, where the trees are all desire trees and the buildings are made of touchstone.
No one knows what a touchstone is.
So
I never did, at least. Or a desired tree. I've got a couple desired trees growing on my front lawn.
The thing is, the purport started out, different classes of human beings are all seeking different enjoyments. We have desires, and we're seeking them out through different objects. And people that come in contact with the Vedic, the Vedas, through them you could pursue your material desires in this world. But if you understand that the entire material realm is all under the control of Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna is charming and beautiful, and he's actually served by thousands and thousands of goddesses of fortune, and he's walking around in a realm where all one's desires are fulfilled through the trees, through even the stone. That this is a realm where desires are naturally fulfilled. But the thing is, you don't get in there until your desires are pure, right? Until you've let go of all selfishness, and until you're actually ruled by your own divine love.
Yeah.
So it goes on. The Lord Govinda is engaged there in herding the Surabi cows. These are cows that can fulfill all desires, right? And as his natural occupation. These goddesses of fortune can be seen automatically if we are attracted by the bodily features of the Lord. So if we become attracted to Krishna rather than to the things of this world, then we're connecting with the goddess of fortune in the most profound and powerful way. The impersonalists, that means those yogis who believe that the ultimate is impersonal, is just energy, and whose goal is to escape the sufferings of this world rather than to connect in divine love. The impersonalists cannot observe such goddesses of fortune because of their dry speculative habit. Right? They're by speculative habit, that means that through my intelligence and determination and renunciation, I'm going to analyze the things of this world, recognize their material, I'm spiritual, and break off from them so I become free of suffering. But they're not working on the platform of divine love. So the impersonalists cannot observe such goddesses of fortune because of their dry speculative habit. And those who are artists, overtaken by the beautiful creation, should better see to the beautiful face of the Lord for complete satisfaction. So I might see God as all-pervasive energy. That's incomplete. I might see God in nature. That's still incomplete. The face of the Lord is the embodiment of all beauty. What they call beautiful nature is but his smile. And what they call sweet songs of the birds are but specimens of the whispering voice of the Lord.
I like that a lot.
There are administrative demigods in charge of departmental service of cosmic management. Someone's in charge of the rain. Who's that?
Was it me or Mara?
No, I was going for you.
Oh, Indra.
Indra. Someone's in charge of the sun. Mara, who's that?
Surya.
Surya. So Prabhupada says there are administrative demigods in charge of departmental service of cosmic management.
By the way, Zoomers, we could pick any one of you at any moment for these trivia questions, and you better get it right.
We could.
You better be prepared with your microphone to come off mute.
So Prabhupada's saying there's Laxmi, she can give wealth. There are administrative demigods. They're giving cosmic gifts. And there are tiny administrative gods in the state service. So we've got like presidents and prime ministers and other types of mini gods. They are always afraid of other competitors. But if they take, even it said the demigods, right? There's always some, we read in Bhagavatam how there's trouble going on.
It's just like another society. It's like any other society.
Yeah.
Like animal society. They talk about the chickens and the pecking orders and the pecking orders amongst birds. All you have to do is sit in nature and watch.
Observe.
The whole material world has this pecking order going on.
So they are always afraid of other competitors. But if they take shelter of the arms of the Lord, you were wondering about that in the verse, right?
The arms.
It said that, what did it say? That his arms are the resting places for the administrative demigods. But if they take shelter of the arms of the Lord can protect them always from the attacks of enemies. Amazing, huh?
It is amazing.
It reminds me of that verse. What is it again? 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, about how the spark of everything, all this is but a spark of all that is beautiful. Know that all that beautiful, any beautiful, glorious, or wondrous creations springs from but a spark of my splendor. Krishna saying, Prabhupada was saying in the commentary, what they call beautiful nature is but his smile. What they call sweet songs of the birds are but specimens of the whispering voice of the Lord. This is Prabhupada's consciousness, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The approaching of, this whole thing he did earlier about the Chintamani Dham and the touchstone and the magical cows and the trees, they're wish-fulfilling trees. In Bhakti, we accept that those things are true. And sometimes they'll even say the devotees, people practicing Bhakti are like wish-fulfilling trees. That means they fulfill everybody's desires. But what happens is when you get when you're dealing with that spiritual realm, you have no material desires. That was the point you made. So the Vedas, because it's made for all people, and all people have different, we're just all different. So there's ways to approach higher authority, so to speak, or a higher power for material things. There's many metaphysical ways to go about that. There's mantras to go about that. But what we're dealing with in the Bhagavatam is for those who aren't interested in asking anything back, this niskama, or this no material desires. And that's when actually you start to become very fulfilled. Then you hear of wish-fulfilling trees and wish-fulfilling, right? And those, when we go to Vrindavan, we hug these trees, we say these prayers to these trees. But what are those prayers? It's not like, I need a new motorhome, or we're not going to a tree. I don't know where I pulled that from.
Want a double wide?
The idea is that we're going to these sacred things, and all we're asking for is to upgrade our spiritual life, to help me surrender more, to help me realize that I'm not of this world in the first place. So the Bhagavatam, what we're dealing with, it can be confusing because there's a lot of books out there on what we call yoga, or what we call Vedic culture, what we call, everything from reincarnation and metaphysics, etc. It gets pretty confusing. You should understand that the Bhagavatam has nothing to do with this material world. Every now and then it dips in, it talks about a king, it talks about some duty in this world, but we're really talking about transcending even higher planets, transcending all other mantras, bringing us out of this body, out of our identity as a man and a woman, as a black or as a white or as Asian. Those aren't even our identities. They're just like, that's like a rental. That's like a rental. You go to LA and you rent a car for a weekend. That's what this body is. Don't get too attached. It's not you at all. I just had to say that.
Thank you. Thank you, Raghu. Okay, shall we read text 27?
Por favor.
Hit it.
Come on. There we go.
You got it?
That's it. As the Lord passed along the public road of Dwarka, his head was protected from the sunshine by a white umbrella. White feathered fans moved semicircles, and showers of flowers fell upon the road. His yellow garments and garlands of flowers made it appear as if dark clouds were surrounded simultaneously by sun, moon, lightning, and rainbows.
Mhm. There's something in this vision that is like so stunning that you just have to try to understand what the verses are trying to explain. Like when you see Krishna's got this the tone of his skin is somehow super magical, right? Now, people say, oh, he's blue, but just to say he's blue, it just doesn't, it can't convey the exact beauty in this color. It said it's like a dark monsoon cloud. When a cloud is like really dark, like blackish, but even there's like a tint of blue in it, and it's just like really somehow, that complexion is just like inconceivable for us. And he's got this complexion, and he's moving around, and he's got a brilliant yellow dhoti. The cloth that he's wearing is this really shimmering, beautiful yellow. It looks like lightning in the cloud. And then he's and then people are following him with like because like in India, not so much nowadays, but people will carry an umbrella. I'd imagine people still do in the real hot season.
I love it. I love it when they carry the umbrella in the sun.
Yeah. So you like that?
I like it because it's sort of like it's from another age almost,
Mm-hmm.
From the 1600s, carrying a parasol with them, but people still do it. Carry an umbrella for the sun. The sun's hot. You live in the tropics, forget it.
Yeah. So then, but that umbrella is like apparently made out of like just really beautiful shimmer, like white. And there's fans that are moving around it. And so all of this is like you're looking at it, and it has been preserved in history forever in the Bhagavatam, this vision of him walking in that way, that it's like all the beauty. Sometimes the most beautiful thing that we can see, right, is just like a sunset, or you look at the beauty in the sky. It can be so stunning sometimes.
Sure.
And it's saying that beauty is still just a spark of Krishna's splendor, right? When you see Krishna walk, somehow it's entirely attractive and entirely captivating. So why don't you read the purport here, Raghu?
All right.
Your picture is frozen on us. You're frozen on
My
us.
picture's frozen?
Yeah. I don't know if everybody sees it frozen.
Oh, man.
Anyway, I can still hear you, though.
Oh, I turned off. Huh? That stinks. I'll give a, what do you call it?
You look great, so don't worry about it.
How do I look there? That photo of me. It's tropical, Raghunath.
Yeah, you look like you're in Dwarka.
That was India. The sun, the moon, the rainbow, the lightning do not appear in the sky simultaneously. Where there is sun, the moonlight becomes insignificant. And if there are clouds and a rainbow, there is no manifestation of lightning. The Lord's bodily hue is just like a new monsoon cloud. He is compared herein to the cloud. The white umbrella over his head is compared to the sun. The movement of the bunch hair fan of flukes.
That's the
the movement of the bunch hair
chamra.
fan,
Like
the chamra.
They
Okay.
make these.
The bunch hair.
It's actually to keep any flies or bugs off of some, if there's a king sitting there, it kind of looks regal too, it's like the tail hair of like a yak, and then this whitish
The
hair,
bunch hair fan of flukes. Never. I don't know what that means. Is compared to the moon. The shower of flowers are compared to the stars. His yellow garments are compared to the rainbow. So all these activities of firmament being impossible, simultaneous factors cannot be adjusted by comparison. The adjustment is possible. Can you read,
Sure.
Kaustubha?
The
I gotta fix this.
adjustment is possible only when we think of the inconceivable potency of the Lord. So all these beautiful things, they don't generally exist simultaneously, but somehow they were all there simultaneously in this vision of Krishna. The Lord is all powerful, and in his presence, anything impossible can be made possible by his inconceivable energy. But the situation created at the time of his passing on the roads of Dwarka was beautiful and could not be compared to anything besides the description of natural phenomena. All right, you're back, Raghu. But now you're not talking to us.
I'm back, but there's something wrong with my camera.
Okay, just go with what you got right now.
Okay, I gotta put my head down sideways.
Well,
Okay.
you're gonna figure it out. Anyway, we can read. Let's keep reading here.
Great. Can you read? I'm
can.
discombobulated right now.
That was text 26. Or was that text 20? That was text 27.
Text 27. Sorry.
28.
Remember in the old days when it used to go, "We are experiencing operating difficulties. Please stand by," on the television, and the televisions would just freeze, and they'd have that announcement.
This is a test of the radio
Emergency broadcasting system.
broadcasting system.
This is only a test.
If this were a real emergency, you'd be instructed where to go. After entering the house of his father, he was embraced by the mothers present. And so many of the elderly ladies, they relate to him as a mother, right? So he was embraced by the mothers present. And the Lord offered his obeisances unto them by placing his head at their feet. So it's Krishna taking joy in being the subservient one.
Mm.
The mothers were headed by Devaki, his real mother. Text 29. The mothers, after embracing their son, sat him on their laps. Due to pure affection, milk sprang from their breasts. They were overwhelmed with delight, and the tears from their eyes wetted the Lord. So it's like they're just overwhelmed with motherly love, and the presence of Krishna is stimulating it to such an intense degree that even milk is coming from their breasts and tears are coming from their eyes. Their love is pouring out. Their love is pouring out of them in so many ways through their words. Thereafter, the Lord entered his palaces, which were perfect to the fullest extent. His wives lived in them, and they numbered over 16,000.
Okay.
So in Dwarka,
Explain that one, Kaustubha.
well,
a lot of people joining the show late, they just heard that someone had 16, what was it, Genghis Khan had some ridiculous amount of what? How can Krishna have, there's no possible way to have 16,108 wives. How can that be, Kaustubha? Can you explain that? Can you explain that to my moth-like brain?
Moth-like Raghunath. How can you say that it's not possible? Prabhupada will say Krishna had only 16,108 wives because he's unlimited. And there's a beautiful passage in the 10th canto that describes how Narada is moving through Dwarka, and he's passing through all the different, outside all the different palaces, and he's noticing that simultaneously Krishna's in each palace, and he's reciprocating with each wife individually in a different way, at the same time. So Krishna is simultaneously in the heart of every living being. So why can't he be the husband of every living being? So 16,108 is just
Here's another thing. He was with them all.
Yeah.
He had the ability to be with each and every one of them.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like he had a bunch of girlfriends and a bunch of houses. He was actually there presently with them all.
And they all felt like he's just with me.
Right. And it's true. And in our life, I feel like Krishna's with me all the time. I feel like he never leaves me. At the same time, you're feeling the same way. Krishna's with me. So Krishna has a way to be with everybody in full. even though that doesn't make material sense. I can't be with you fully and then also be fully with Mara. I can't be talking to you fully and then Mara's sending me messages to put your camera back on, and I have to pay attention to her sending me messages while I'm trying to lead a Bhagavatam class. I can't do that, Mara. In full. I can't multitask. Krishna can.
He can be simultaneously in the heart with 16,108 wives.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he can be in the heart of every human being, and he can simultaneously be in the heart of every moth that is in Raghunath's closet.
Yes. I got rid of them, by the way, but for the record.
But there's more eggs still in there, and they're going to come back.
They're all coming. Let's drive Raghunath crazy.
The queens of Lord Sri Krishna rejoice with their minds to see their husband home after a long period abroad. The queens got up at once from their seats and meditations. As was socially customary, they covered their faces shyly and looked about coyly, eyes darting about.
That was a good invitation. Looking coyly. Yeah. Did anybody see that?
I don't think it was very good.
Let's do a look coyly.
In the insuperable, okay, Mara, insuperable.
I've lost all faith
Unsurpassable. Does that mean unsurpassable? Yeah. Mara says maybe.
What? Were you like smoking in the corridors in the girls' room and not learning anything in that private school, Mara?
Seriously, there's other field hockey players there smoking in the girls' room.
What was the school called again?
Emma Willard.
Emma Willard. The Bad Girls of Emma Willard, featuring
Mara.
Skipping school again, playing hooky.
I don't even know if it's insuperable or it's probably insuperable. I'm going to say it like that. I might be saying it wrong. The insuperable ecstasy was so strong that the queens who were shy first embraced the Lord in the innermost recesses of their heart. Right. So with Krishna, one's internal feelings for Krishna are the same. You can embrace him in your heart, and it's the same as embracing him physically. Then they embraced him visually, and then they sent their sons to embrace him, which was equal to personal embracing. But O chief amongst the Brigus, though they tried to restrain their feelings, they inadvertently shed tears. Right, their emotions are so strong that they can't help it. And I think we read that the ladies were trying to hold their tears back when he was leaving Hastinapur because they thought it might be inauspicious, and here they're trying to hold their tears back. But in both cases, they're so overwhelmed with spiritual sentiment that they couldn't hold it back. Text 33. Although Lord Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. There was no law of satiation. Right? The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, it said, there's a name for Laxmi. That means she's always restless and moving. Do you know what it is? Or at least maybe it's not
Chanchal.
a name. But
Chanchal.
Is that a name for Laxmi?
Yeah, Chanchala. She means flickering. Yeah, she comes and goes. She's restless.
So you might have money one day, and then the next day you may not, right? So the goddess of fortune is called Chanchalam. 1 minute she's here, 1 minute she's there. So these verses have been playing with the idea that these are all goddesses of fortune, in a sense, these wives. And although Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone with them, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what women can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? If even Lakshmi, who's Chanchalam, can't budge from those feet, then what other woman or what other soul, once having, taken shelter of the Lord's feet, can leave them? So Prabhupada writes in the commentary, conditioned living beings are always after the favor of the goddess of fortune, although by nature she is moving from one place to another. In the material world, no one is permanently fortunate, however clever one may be. there have been so many big empires in different parts of the world. There have been so many powerful kings all over the world. And there have been so many fortunate men, but all of them have been liquidated gradually. This is the law of material nature. But spiritually, it is different. According to Brahma Samhita, which we were quoting earlier, the Lord is served very respectfully by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune. They are always in a lonely place with the Lord, but still the association of the Lord is so inspiringly newer and newer that they cannot quit the Lord for a moment, even though they are by nature very restless and are moving about. The spiritual relation with the Lord is so enlivening and resourceful that no one can leave the company of the Lord once having taken shelter of him. Wow.
I believe.
I believe too. Text 34. The Lord was pacified after killing those kings who were burdensome to the earth. They were puffed up with their military strength, their horses, elephants, chariots, infantry, etc.
Puffed
He
up
himself
with your
was not
horse.
party in the fight, right? So this is the Battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna wasn't directly involved in that, although he was driving the chariot of Arjuna. But he himself was not party in the fight. He simply created hostility between the powerful administrators, and they fought amongst themselves. He was like the wind, which causes friction between the bamboos and so sparks fire. Okay, and Prabhupada, or
Great analogy, isn't it?
yeah, Prabhupada used to give this kind of bizarre analogy. It's a little disturbing to hear, but it's
What are you gonna say?
Well, he said that when he was in school in Calcutta, there were these British schools and they had British, teachers or headmasters or whatever. And when some kids were acting up, they would, like if two boys were fighting with one another or arguing with one another,
Yeah.
this is what they would do. All right. They would make the two boys stand in front of the rest of the class, and each one was told to grab the ears of the other one. And then they said, now pull. Right? Did they do this at your school, Nara? No. Okay.
Well, we got some people from the UK here. Maybe we should ask them.
But
Coming in, did they ever do that to you?
All right. The idea being that like they would make each other hurt each other it was a way of showing how foolish it is to hurt each other. Granted, it was in a bizarre way, but in other words, look at you two hurting each other, what fools you're being. And really that's what's going on in this world too, is that we're just making fools of ourselves, hurting one another when there's no need to do it. We could just drop it, if we had even a little spiritual consciousness, even a little detachment, even a little care for one another, but we're engaged in so much hostility towards one another and so much fighting. Okay. Text 35. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, appeared on this planet by his internal potency and enjoyed himself amongst competent women as if he were engaging in mundane affairs. Okay, let's read the commentary. When the Lord appears on different lokas or planets, or on this planet of human beings, he displays his transcendental pastimes just to attract the conditioned souls to become his eternal servitors, friends, parents, and lovers, respectively,
You're
in
reading
the transcendental world.
You're reading text 35?
I'm reading from text 35.
Okay. You're reading the purport?
Yeah.
Mine starts somewhere different. The Lord married and lived like a householder.
I'm not reading the entire purport.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Okay. Now I have to find.
I threw you off.
Place.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, okay.
I should just shut up.
So he's saying that he appears in this world and he demonstrates his leelas, his pastimes, and it's meant to attract us so that we may become attracted to becoming his servitor, his friend, his parent, his lover, reconnecting with him in a personal relationship in these varieties of ways. And then he says, this is interesting. Service is pervertedly represented in the material world and broken untimely, resulting in a sad experience. Just that one sentence right there, right? And again, he uses this word pervertedly, which nowadays generally has a sexual connotation, but I think we could say like in a
It's
warped
twisted,
way.
twisted.
Twisted. Okay, let's say twisted. Service is twistedly represented in the material world and broken untimely. So the relationships of service that we have in this world, even the loving relationships that we have, it becomes broken untimely, resulting in a sad experience. That's the way that this world is programmed.
It's a sad world. It's a sad world, isn't it?
Yeah. Even you meet the right person and it has, you know,
So one of you dies. One of you dies.
One of you is going to die.
Even if it's great, even if I'm Mrs. Right, Mr. Right, somebody's got to die.
So that's this world. Yeah.
The material world is sad.
And it results.
All you got to do is look at it. All you have to do is wait. Just wait around. It's gonna get. If it's not sad, it's gonna get sad. Yeah. We have to take shelter of something more subtle and more eternal. I mean, you can try to make it nice. You can put up
a sad song and make it better.
Take a sad song and make it better. Put up some curtains in your cell.
Yeah. Then, so he goes on. The illusion living being, conditioned by material nature, cannot understand out of ignorance that all our relations here in the mundane world are temporary and full of inebrities. Such relations cannot help us be happy perpetually. But if the same relation is established with the Lord, then we are transferred to the transcendental world after leaving this material body and become eternally related with him in the relation we desire, like Raghunath desires to be an elderly gopi. Okay, the women amongst whom he lived as their husband are not, therefore, women of this mundane world, but are eternally related with him as transcendental wives in a position which they attained by perfection of bhakti. That is their competency. So the verse mentioned he enjoyed himself amongst competent women. So in the commentary, what Prabhupada was saying was, what's that competency is the purity of their devotion. The Lord is Param Brahma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Conditioned souls seek after perpetual happiness in all places, not only on this earth, but also in other planets throughout the universe, because constitutionally, a spiritual spark, as he is, can travel to any part of God's creation. But being conditioned by the material modes, he tries to travel in space by spacecraft, and so fails to reach his destination. The law of gravitation is binding upon him like the shackles of a prisoner. By other processes, he can reach anywhere. But even if he reaches the highest planet, he cannot attain that perpetual happiness for which he is searching life after life. There's no level of material attainment that can satisfy the soul, is what's being said. When he comes to his senses, however, he seeks after Brahman happiness, knowing it for certain that unlimited happiness, which he is seeking, is never attainable in the material world. I just said that. As such, the Supreme Being, Parabrahman, certainly does not seek his happiness anywhere in the material world. In other words, so therefore, Krishna is definitely not searching for happiness in the material world. He is not impersonal. Because he is the leader and the Supreme Being amongst innumerable living beings, he cannot be impersonal. He is exactly like us, and he has all the propensities of an individual living being in fullness. He marries exactly like us, but his marriage is neither mundane nor limited by our experience in the conditioned state. His wives, therefore, appear like mundane women, but factually they are all transcendental, liberated souls, perfect manifestation of the internal energy. Wow. That's what we need to become.
Can't understand.
Really?
I'm a moth.
Keep meditating on
I'll
it.
hear it again and again.
Yeah.
There's a limit to material intelligence. But there is nothing of the material world that will satisfy my heart. That I'm convinced of. There's nothing of this material world that will satisfy my heart. I've tried it. Bring me a higher love. Now I'm going to start breaking. Thanks, everybody. Remember, Wisdom of the Sages is a listener-supported podcast. If you'd like to support our service and go deeper into the teachings of the practices of Bhakti Yoga, you can join our Patreon party, our Patreon page at patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages, where we host more classes and readings. Like tonight, I'm giving a Sweet Baby Krishna class at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. By subscribing to Patreon, you also get access to our Discord community, which is a community discussion forum party in itself, where we all get to know each other and share all kinds of relevant spiritual content. Thanks everybody for joining us. Means a world to me. And Kaustubha, thank you. And Maraji, she always disappears right at the end. Where are you going? What's going on in that other room? She's got a deity. She's checking on her Lord. My Lord was thirsty. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody listening on Apple Podcasts. If you're out there, we don't even know you're here, please write us a letter at an email at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. We'd like to know where you're at, where you're coming from, what's your story. And if you join us on Zoom, welcome, everybody. Remember, Saturday's question day at 8 o'clock. And Sunday special guest with His Holiness Sachinandana.
Swami.